Okay, so just out on a ride this evening, and check this out. So look at this, front derailleur mount has come loose. Look at how loose that is. Disappointing, to say the least. I mean, oh, come on, what a pain. Right then, this TriFox frame behind me, got it just over a month ago, had a really good look and kind of a detailed inspection of the frame. Externally, looked inside it with an endoscope, all looked really clean. Built up a bike around it, smashed out 200 miles. Everything was going so swimmingly, but a mere 100 miles more, yeah, we've got a problem. So here's the problem. Even with the front derailleur really tightly attached, it still wobbles around all over the place. With the front derailleur removed, you can see 3 of the 4 rivets that hold the hanger onto the frame have come loose, and presumably the 4th one isn't far behind either. Obviously, this is no good. The shifting at the front is now complete trash, and presumably there's a risk the front derailleur might fall off and get like dragged into the chain and stuff. Yeah, no good. So I instantly messaged TriFox about the problem, and they said this type of issue is exceedingly rare, and that I should take my frame to a repair technician to get that derailleur hanger re-riveted onto the frame. And if this was a customer, they would cover all of those repair costs for you. And they offered to cover it for me as well. But like, why did this happen in the first place? And this has never happened to me on any of my other frames. So yeah, what happened here? I think there were 2 main issues. The obvious answer is that it wasn't riveted on particularly well. But like I said, I did have a look inside the frame and everything looked good, but that's just a visual inspection, so who knows. The second issue is that the hanger isn't epoxied on. So virtually all other manufacturers that rivet on the front derailleur hangers will also use some form of glue or epoxy to bond the hanger directly to the frame as well. Now, most modern frames will actually use riv nuts here, same as the bottle cage mounts, so that you can easily remove the hanger for a 1-by setup. But yeah, those that use just straight rivets tend to use epoxy as well. In this case, I assume to save a bit of cost, the whole frame is painted up, and then the derailleur hanger is just riveted on directly over the top of the paint. Yeah, no glue or epoxy used. But regardless, not particularly impressive after just 300 miles. I mean, I should have known something was going to go wrong. It was all going a little bit too smoothly, if you know what I mean. Anyway, let's fix it and then we'll chat. Got my rivet gun, got some rivets and some 2-part epoxy. So let's do this. Okay, so I've taken everything off of the frame here, and the first thing I'm actually going to do is take a Sharpie or a permanent marker and go around the outline of the derailleur hanger so that I know where to remove the paint underneath this and get back to bare carbon for when I epoxy this onto the frame. Right, with that done, I'm going to take my drill here and try and drill these rivets out. Now, full disclosure, I have never done this before, so let's give it a go and see how we get on. Now, just FYI, the rivets that they use are these, so 3mm by 10, and the drill I'm starting with is 2.5mm. So we'll start there and see how we get on. 1 down. Número 2. So we're through. Let's step up the size of the drill. Okay, 3mm drill for a 3mm hole. Let's give it a go. Ooh, just like that. Right, easy. It was already off. Número 3. And there we go. Perfect. Right. She's done. Okay, there we go. That went pretty well, actually. Now, I probably should have got this out of the way, to be honest with you. But I've checked the cable and everything. I didn't nick it with the drill, so this is absolutely fine. But I did touch the edge of that hole with the drill bit there, which is slightly frustrating. But still, I'm pretty happy with it. And in fact, you can see in here the ends of the rivets inside the bottom bracket shell there. But yeah, all in all, I'm happy. I call that a success. So next up, I'm actually going to get this out of the way and then sand this area back to bare carbon.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Right, so Siroko, little Spanish outfit, yeah, they're back to sponsor another episode. They make some great value cycle gear that I've been wearing on every single ride for the last 3 years. This M2 jersey is 42 quid, looks fantastic and uses some really nice quality fabrics. The pockets at the back are super deep to carry all your stuff, and the rear panel is made of this lighter grade mesh fabric for added breathability. Their bib shorts are also fantastic. I wear these Aspen bib shorts all the time. Again, they're 42 quid, super comfortable, and the padding is really, really nice, which is great because some of my saddles are quite unforgiving. If the weather looks a bit changeable, you might want to consider their arm warmers, leg warmers, neck scarf maybe, or if it looks like rain, one of their cycle vests or gilets. They're really lightweight and keep all the wind and the rain off, but if you don't need it, it packs up super small so you can just carry it with you. But Siroko do all sorts of cycle gear for basically every eventuality. It's great value and looks really slick, so yeah, I genuinely really like it. So use my link in the description for 10% off the entire site. And on the 20th of this month, for 24 hours, they're offering 15% off using my link, which is, yeah, pretty cool. Anyway, definitely check them out. But with that aside, let's get back to it.
So I used a bit of tape to mask the outline, then started sanding. It was going all right, but pretty soon I just ended up using the edge of a Stanley knife to scrape the paint away. Yeah, it was much quicker. And again, this is to expose the bare carbon. It's going to help the epoxy glue bond really nicely. Gluing it over the top of the paint, yeah, that'd be no good.
Right, okay, so pretty happy with that. Down to the bare carbon, looks good. And I've cleaned it off with some acetone as well. And also the back of this hanger is cleaned with acetone, and I've scored it up as well to give it the best chance of adhering. So I'm gonna mix up some of this 2-part epoxy and then stick this onto there, like so, and then we can start riveting. Okay, right, let's get a bit of epoxy on this piece here, and then I should just be able to get that on there like so. Now what I can also do is use the rivets here. Right, let's get riveting. Sorted. Also, for those of you that maybe don't know how a rivet gun like this works, it basically pulls this metal shaft with a ball on the end through this aluminium sheath and mushrooms that out. So let me show you. Okay, so with the rivet inside the gun there, you pull the handles together and it pulls that metal shaft through that aluminium sheath, mushrooming out like so. And with a pop, you've got yourself a little rivet. Easy. Okay, wicked. Look at that, really chuffed with that actually. That was much easier than I thought it would be, to be honest with you. Seems to be on there nice and tight. Got a little extra run of epoxy, but I'll just clean that off in a second. But anyway, let's leave this overnight to dry and come back in the morning.
The next day.
Okay, cool, so I'm really happy with how it's come out. There's a nice bead of epoxy that's kind of squished out all the way around it, so it's got full contact onto the frame, and it's all set up and hardened properly as well. So I think that's problem solved. So I'm gonna get this bike back together and put this hanger through its paces.
Right, I'll set the scene for you. The mood is positive in the garage. I've made the fix. I'm getting back on the road. So getting the bike back together here, popping the bottom bracket in, sticking the crank arms on. But then I put the front derailleur back on the bike.
We are gathered here today to mourn the loss of a great groupset.
So as some of you are probably aware, the front derailleur of my L2 ERX groupset has completely died on me for seemingly no reason. So it was working absolutely fine before I took it off to do this fix, but now, what can I say? Rip to a legend. Over the last few days, I have tried everything to get this back to life, but yeah, nothing. The weird thing is when I plug it in, it does buzz. So it is getting power and also the signals to shift from both the shifters themselves and via the companion app. They seem to be coming through, but just no movement. My first thought was that I've done something to damage one of the battery cables by accident. So I actually busted out the multimeter here, and the cables use 4 pins each, and I actually tested the continuity of both cables across all 4 pins. They were absolutely fine. I even figured out across 2 of the pins, you've got 8 volts for power, and then the other 2 are signal wires. And I was even able to see the signals coming through when I was shifting via the shifter, because I could see a change in the voltage. After much deliberation and literally hours of problem solving. It has to be one of two things. Either it's a software glitch that I just can't figure out, or the front derailleur has just completely died for some reason. Now I have some replacement parts from L2 coming in the post, so when they get here, yeah, I'll figure it out. Now, putting that completely separate issue to the side, this front derailleur hanger here, it's now fixed. Unfortunately, I can't actually test it, but as a dad that attaches a Christmas tree onto the top of a car would say, that's not going anywhere. So what is the deal here? So like I said, I think this is a calculated cost-cutting measure from TriFox. In order to replicate what I've done, they would need to mask off the area before spraying the frame, then peel that off, clean the area, epoxy the hanger on, and then rivet it. So extra steps, additional cost. Plus, this might not affect that many people. My other TriFox frame that I've got has an identical front derailleur hanger, again, without any epoxy, and it's still completely solid after, what, like 6,000 miles of use. So look, this frame is cheap for a reason. One of the ways that TriFox are able to offer these frames at such a low cost is because of shortcuts like this. So I understand it, but of the two frames I've had from TriFox, both have had some pretty serious issues. I try and hunt out bargains like this because it's interesting, and sometimes I find some really great stuff. I genuinely thought this frame was going to be one of those things, but I've given TriFox 2 chances now. I'm not going to be rushing back to try their stuff again, let's just say that much. I have a feeling this frame might actually be okay now, but it cost me a ride, at least an afternoon, and because I didn't have a rivet gun, about 30 to 40 quid in parts. Now the fix was pretty straightforward, but I understand not everyone is going to have the time nor the inclination to bother faffing around with something like this, but if you do have problems with your hanger, it can be fixed. And this is a pattern that I see crop up time and again with these cheaper bike parts. You probably won't pay much upfront for something like this, but more often than not, you'll pay later down the line with your time, mostly, trying to like figure out and diagnose any issues that come up. But it's one of the reasons that I love what I do. It's that kind of risk versus reward of using these cheaper parts. I understand it's definitely not for everyone, and I don't know if I'd really like recommend it on the face of it, but it can be a really interesting and often a pretty rewarding process trying to figure out stuff like this. So I took a chance on this TriFox frame, and yeah, I got a bit stung. I genuinely thought this was a good frame, but I mean, hopefully if you do face this issue, yeah, this episode will help you out. To be honest, it's been a bit of a wake-up call for me this week. 2 of the products that I thought were genuinely really good have failed me in the most unexpected ways. Like, who would have thought that unplugging a front derailleur would completely kill it, and a hanger with 4 rivets on would like come completely loose? Yeah. Anyway, I think it's quite interesting, if a little bit embarrassing. But anyway, stay tuned for the ERX fix coming up in the next few days, and I will, see you next time. Ciao, ciao.
It's the bonus clip time.
Okay, so I'm just going to put this at the end. It's an FYI more than anything. So this room that we're going into, it used to be my room with my like editing rigging and a few other bits that I own, but it's changed ever so slightly. So yeah, it's now a nursery, and it's going to be Totoro themed. If you know, you know. So yeah, I'm going to be having a baby. I'm going to have a little girl in like 2 weeks, maybe 3 at a push, which is absolutely mental. It's my first kid. I'm led to believe they're relatively time intensive. So yeah, my upload schedule might slow down a little bit until I, get a routine going and stuff like that. So yeah, so excited, but yeah, I might not upload quite as often in the next few weeks. Anyway, I guess wish me luck, and I'll see you on the other side. See you next time. Ciao, ciao.